How you doing?
Okay, I'm good. Good, bro.
We're back early morning.
Let's get it.
Back for another pod. Episode 2. Coaching. This is the overarching topic we're going to be covering today.
Yep.
How it came to us, our thoughts on it, our thoughts on what we've experienced, all of that, all of that and above, everything.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
Yep.
Just initial thoughts, why are you excited to get into this topic?
Lots of reasons. I've had good coach in the past. I started coaching now, so just the little experience I have, I feel like it's valuable, and that's what I want to do when I'm done hooping, when I'm done playing. So I feel like talking about it is a good way to kind of get that started, get that going, and yeah, bro, I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
We're trying to change the game. We're trying to change coaching. We're trying to change coaching. No, for real though. We're gonna get into some deep stuff here. Joga talks, cover everything under the sun involving hoops, especially. We start off with our fun game.
Yeah.
Blind rankings. I think D's gonna start us off here.
Yeah.
You already know how it goes if you watched the previous episodes. So if you're lost, go and watch one of those.
Yep.
But we're gonna get right into it. What's the theme for me?
Mine is just current NBA coaches. We're gonna stay with the theme. Just coaching theme.
NBA coaches, okay.
Yeah, just NBA coaches. If you guys don't know, go watch the pilot. We explain it. Explain the game. Quick fire. Okay, you ready? We're good to go. First one, Eric Spoelstra.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
2.
Doc Rivers.
5. No, that's without a question.
Tom Thibodeau.
Oh, that's tough, actually. Actually, no. Yeah, he's 4. I'm happy with him above Doc.
Tyronn Lue.
I might have screwed myself. I screwed myself. 3.
Steve Kerr.
1. Okay, I mean...
That's actually not terrible.
That's not terrible.
That's not terrible. I think,
I wouldn't have done it like that, for sure.
No, I wouldn't have done it like that either. But, I feel like I was going to throw Pop in there, but then Pop is such a clear 1, I feel like.
He's a clear 1.
So, for those, yeah. Personally, I'd put Spoelstra 1. And then...
But the thing is since you gave me Spoelstra first...
Exactly.
I can't go 1 in case you have Pop.
And that's why I put it first, because I was like, you got to, Yeah.
That's the thing.
For sure.
That's a good one. Nah, I'm switching. I'm switching Tibbs and Lue. I'm probably switching Lue and Doc Rivers because let's be honest here. Look at the personnel that Tyronn Lue has had.
True.
But
he's also I guess
he's got that LeBron chip.
He's got a LeBron chip. That's it.
Actually, we don't want to demean him, but Doc Rivers has paid a lot to the game.
I know.
And he's been in that coaching staff for the Celtics.
That's what I'm saying.
But I had to put him 5 just because this guy doesn't know.
I've heard Tyronn Lue's a really good coach too, bro.
Who?
All the NBA guys say Tyronn Lue's one of the best coaches.
I think they say he's one
really
of the best
good
player coaches.
Yeah, he's really good managing like when he had Braun and Kyrie and stuff. He's good at that shit.
There you go.
Okay, that's not bad though. I like that. Good start.
All right, we're gonna get right into it for D. We're gonna do drills, just drills in general, because we know a lot of them.
Oh, this is gonna be so crazy.
Okay.
Because it could be anything. Yeah, I'm ready.
It could be anything. Okay, we're gonna start off with a classic, 3-man weave.
2.
Okay. We're gonna go form shooting.
I should have asked the question before, bro. We're talking just best drills in general, right?
Just drills. I don't know how you want to say it. Best drills. Most important.
Form shooting? Oh, most important. Oh, see, that changes it.
But now, to me, that's goes hand in hand.
The most important?
Because what do you mean? If we're talking about high-level basketball players here, the most important should be your favorite. You know what I mean?
Okay. Oh, so you're saying, personal.
The ones you're going to do the most.
Oh, okay.
Most important, the best.
Okay, so I got to bump 3-on-weave to 4 then. Because I thought it was most what every team does. You know what I'm saying? Type thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
So that's why
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that.
Okay, so let's just say most important and okay, fair enough. I'll put 3-on-weave 4, and I'll put form shooting. Oh man, I'll put form shooting 2.
Okay.
Because I don't know what's coming.
Let's go ones.
Ones?
Just ones.
One.
That's fair enough. Can't argue that one.
Yeah.
Contact finishing.
Oh, that's good. I'll go 3. Yeah, I'll go 3.
Free throws.
4, I guess. See, I don't mind that though. I think that's pretty good. Did I put 5 already?
I think so, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So free throws has to be 5.
Free throw has to be 5.
Because 4 was what's it called?
Oh right, we're
3-man weave.
Yeah.
No, 4 was 3-man weave. We're good.
Four was
Yeah,
3-man
that was
weave.
5. Okay. I would switch 3-man weave and free throws for sure. 3-man weave last. In those, as like
yeah,
most important.
3-man weave. I
Three-man
thought
weave
you would put last,
but it's just
honestly,
something that like
it's a
everyone
classic,
does.
though.
I know everyone does in the beginning. It's a good warm up thing, but like it's not like as important per se. There's some good aspects to it, but like not as important. I think 1, I would keep 1-on-1. 2, I would keep form shooting, and then 3, I put contact finishing over free throws. Yeah, I'm fine with that. You could argue both ways. Free throws you could get in your own though.
I think
plus free throws
might
are
bump
like
contact finishing higher.
Yeah, true.
If it was me.
Yeah.
That was a good one though. That was a good one. I think we got to bump up the energy here. It's early morning for y'all, so you don't know. We got complex schedules, and we had to run this one.
It's a
real
crazy
early.
word. I'll give you that one.
So that's why we're sipping on the tea. You know this guy. If you watch the previous episodes. Yep. This guy really likes his tea. Mm-hmm. He really gets into depth about that.
I could, for sure.
But yeah, let's jump right into this.
Yep.
So do you want to start us off?
First, yeah. We'll go like chronologically speaking-ish, right? Like we'll go like just like our previous experience with coaches. And that's just like more generalized. Just be like, okay, like I've had this amount of good coaches, this amount of bad coaches. And then if you want to explain, like, why and just stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like, just, I don't know. Like, just your previous experience with, like, coaches. And it could be different sports, too. Like, it doesn't have to be basketball. Like, something that's, like, stuck with you, good or bad. You know what I mean? Like, just things of that nature.
So just coaches as a whole.
Coaches as a whole that we've had.
Yeah, that's a really big thing to dive into because I didn't play like some of us. Like I feel like you played footy in Brazil from a very young age. I didn't play sports from too young, like at everyday kind of thing.
True.
Because that's just, I don't know, I just started later on a more competitive tip. But I think going back to even my earliest days, my first baseball coach, because I played baseball when I lived in Mexico, and I was young. He was more of a volunteer situation like it usually is, but there was like no resources, no nothing. So why I'm saying all that is I think in the moment I couldn't understand that, but looking back at it and the good energies I got from that, I think it all came from the bottom of his heart. Like he was literally doing this. He cared about the sport. Mm-hmm. He knew that there was, kids doing nothing when they got out of school.
Yeah, that's fair.
And his son was in the program too, but we would just go, every day we'd be doing batting practice, we'd be doing fielding. So I think that beginning with that was I was blessed to have someone who had passion about it. So it's not like someone who's forced into a coaching position or they're doing it for pay or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think in an academy scenario, not saying they're all, I think there's great coaches in academy as well, but I think when you get that really raw, just classic coach, he's there on his own time. He could be doing anything else, but he's there with a bunch of crazy kids and he's trying to get them to lock in. So just from that beginning, I think I was blessed, and from going on forward from that, I think I started to notice things in coaches.
Yeah.
And you start noticing what you like and what you don't like. Mm-hmm. And I think when you're a youth, probably what's most important is just having someone that you're comfortable with, and someone that can give you that constructive criticism, but can teach you how to take it. right? In a positive way. Because I think if you get the wrong person, that's why I feel like some of these youth, they don't go forward with sports because, you know, they don't have that like
bad
receptive kind of mentality because they have a bad experience from a coach. So I think that's really important. And yeah, I think all the way going forward, I experienced all sorts of different types of coaches. You know what I mean? Tougher ones, nicer ones. I would say, something that I learned too, and I think everyone learns quickly, is what kind of coaching you're more receptive to. Yeah. It's kind of like what learning you're more receptive to. So I think like the rah-rah constantly, like maybe that gets through. I think I realized that gets through for sure. You know what I mean? In game time. But then it can't be rah-rah all the time. I mean, you need to have a blend. Balance, and you can't always have best of both worlds, right? But I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think everything's a balance. Like we said, like in the other podcast too, it's like you gotta have a balance between both, and you gotta be able to like, I feel like as a coach, you gotta be able to sort of like manage your players individually in a way where like you gotta know. That's like rule number one. You gotta know your players' like personalities and stuff, because like not everyone on the same team is going to react the same way to how you say it. So it's like, okay, if this guy doesn't like the yelling, right? Like you can still do the yelling as a whole, as a team concept where like you're trying to get a message across.
But you don't have to key on this guy anymore.
Yeah, individually, you shouldn't be yelling at this guy individually. You should like maybe pull him aside and try that first. If that doesn't work too, try something else. You know what I'm saying? Like just like trying different things, because as you said, like it could really make or break like an athlete's career. You never know. Like this kid could have been like in the NBA. Let's just stick with the basketball theme. You know, like this kid could have been all the way if he just not had the proper coaching, but just had the like better experience with it, and like you just provided that like at an early stage. Because like when they're young, that's when like they're more receptive to a lot of things, and like they could just stop playing and that's it. You know, like they pursue something else. Like they'll pursue a different career. You know,
I always find that interesting too. You see that with especially like, you know, just like athletes like that have been obsessed with a sport, especially with pro athletes. But you know, I mean, you talk about that like as a former athlete, like when that person's gonna have a kid, and you obviously want them to play, but you have to introduce it in a way that isn't forced and isn't you know what I mean, isn't too much and overbearing, and that's really interesting to me. I always find it interesting talking to, you know what I mean, peers I know that do have kids, and kind of like. But the athlete ones, obviously, since we're in that context, and seeing how they're introducing sports to them. For sure. And, you know, I mean, some people are a bit more, and then some do it gradually, and I don't know. It is really like it's kind of like it's like a dance, kind of. You have to do it perfect. Science, you know, it's a science. You have to figure out how you're gonna introduce it in a way that, you know what I mean, in a positive way, and coaching, I think, can get into so many different levels. We'll break this down here, but what do you think for you? Because I said, you know, my initial kind of experience with the coaches I had. I think for me, I focus more on youth. Obviously, you got to have coaching more in your adult years. And by the way, coaching can be in any aspect of life. It doesn't just have to be sports. You can, your mentor is your coach. You're the person above you at work, assuming that, you know what I mean, they're doing it in a also in a positive way and in a productive way, because you know that sometimes it's not coaching, sometimes it's just bad energy, right? Right. Sometimes it's just hate.
I've only had good experience. I'd say like a lot of it. I was talking to someone the other day here, and I feel like it's like personally, like my personality, I'd be fine with like any coach as long as like I had like some sort of respect for him. So like his style might not be like the greatest for everyone. It might not even be the greatest for me. But like if I know this guy's doing it, like one, he has passion for it, and one, I know why he's doing it, and I know like the why he's explaining these certain things. So like in basketball, why we're doing these certain drills, then I can respect him enough and be like, okay, like this guy's coming from a place of like he wants to win and he wants to like do what's best for us. But like I've had different styles too, where it's like I've had chill coaches that would just like sit and like watch type thing, and then I've had coaches where it's like fully like yelling, like boom, like I'm on you, like blah blah. And I honestly like I don't mind both. Like I'm fine with everything. Like I approach it differently where it's like, I'm not going to let that affect me. Like kind of what we talked about in the other podcast, but like, yeah, not letting it affect you in that way where it's like, I don't know, I feel like I'm very calm and collected where it's like, fine, like throw anything at me, like I'll figure it out type thing, which I think is a good way, but I don't know. I agree too. Like there's different people that react to different like scenarios and different things you throw at them. So like as a coach, you got to be aware of that, like fully. Like that's what I've learned too. Like starting like that academy and stuff like that, and like doing more coaching last year, is like damn, like just kids react different ways, like, and you got to be aware. And it's like not easy to tell, but like you can see it. You know what I mean? Like say like I don't know, like say you're going. Not you're going like soft, but like you're like going one-on-one with the kid and he's not responding well, then it's like, okay, let me just send a message to like the whole team and just trying different techniques and stuff and like learning and like
you can't bang your head against the wall.
Yeah.
If it's not working,
I know,
you have to
exactly.
switch your formula.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think the coaches that don't switch your formula and they know that
adapt,
there's, you know.
Yeah, that's another huge thing. Like I've seen a lot of like people say that like, oh, like it's like an old head coach that like stuck in his ways or like older ways, and it's like, yeah, like, but maybe that has some benefit, but it's also like you got to adapt to like the new situations, like whatever it is, like modern like ways of approaching it. And the best coaches do that. Like I've seen it firsthand where they got to adapt, and they've changed so much since like maybe like I've played for them, or like, you know what I mean? Like it's a completely different.
Well, that's the thing too, though, is I think being able to change drills or X and O's or you know what I mean, the way that you're coaching from a tactical standpoint, that's more doable.
Yeah.
And that's still necessary, but I think that should be expected. Like every coach should be able to do that. But the problem is not every coach is going to be able to change how they coach psychologically.
Yeah.
And that is to me more important.
I agree.
Because we talk about because I think, and actually we've had some good convos about this, and I feel like this is up for debate as well. But you know what I mean, you could have the most tactical coach, right? Knows exactly what to do, where and when, but especially if you're in a youth scenario. Or you know what I mean? I think we're even include college and university, because once we're talking about pro, I think it's like, okay, you just show up and they're gonna put this they're gonna draw this up, and you have to know what to do, and you have to bring everything else, and they're just bringing they're just drawing it up.
Yeah.
But I think at the lower levels of that and the younger levels of that, you need to kind of like put the spirit in the player,
for sure,
right? And we talked about confidence in one of the last ones, and I mean, I think that's huge. So not every coach is going to be able to change how they approach stuff psychologically. The ones that can do that as well, from player to player, I think that is like the upper echelon of coaches.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
The ones that can change, they can have different dynamics with different people. Those are for me. Those are those are God tier.
Yeah, and knowing how to approach and stuff. But yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, that's kind of like why sort of like just like I wanted to start coaching. That kind of just segues into like just like why, like personally, like myself, I'd be like, okay, like I love teaching. Like I love not so much like teaching in general, but just I love seeing people improve in like just in anything. So like I would love to see like, okay, this kid's like 10 years old, when he's like 15, like I see his growth. So like I love that. So like then I was like, okay, how do I do that like hands-on? So I was like, okay, like coaching, you know what I mean? Like got into coaching, and it was like, okay, like one-on-one training is like my favorite, because then it's like I've been training with a kid, for example, since like 3 or 4 years ago, and like I could see the change like drastically to now, and that just like that's like rewarding, you know what I mean? So like, not that like I do afford that reward, but I feel like that reward is like, I don't know, like it's very, I don't know.
Well, I don't think it's something that you can like touch and feel, right?
Exactly.
It's just there.
It's there.
It's
like
there.
It's really like, and like you impacted someone's life.
It's easy to explain.
Exactly. Like you impact someone's life. Like obviously it's through sport, but like you still like that kid might be playing basketball for the rest of his life because of that. So it's like, that's why I do it. That's why I do it, and that's what I do it for example. So I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's very rewarding. Like coaching is very rewarding if you really like dive into it and you're fully invested. Like you really want to do it. You want to be there, Because then there's times where like I've found even myself where like you go into like a session where like say you're tired or whatever, like I don't know, like you've had a certain amount of classes, boom, boom, like just practice, and it's like, okay, like maybe you don't want to be there, and then the session just like completely drops. And like I feel like wherever the coach is at is like where the session's gonna be at. It's like if you come in with like fully like energized, like you have a plan, like you have fully like set plan, like you're not just winging it, you know, because that happens too. And everything's set out, and then you come in with the energy, you're on the kids, like you want them to get better. I feel like they're just gonna like reciprocate, you know what I mean? Like it's all about like what you bring, because at the end of the day they're there because they like respect you and they want to be there, right? Like they want to be coached by you, so it's like, okay, like let me put my best foot forward and like reward them with that, like, you know, like knowledge or like pass down the skills and stuff like that. But I feel like it's very rewarding, and that's why like why I started coaching, like personally, you know, like just
There's a rewarding aspect of it.
there is, yeah. But just love seeing the growth and like how kids get better, like just firsthand, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I could say the same. I think the transition, we'll get into that, but the transition from player to, well, it's not that it's the end of player, but once you start transitioning into coaching and that mindset, after thinking only like a player for so long, I think that's something that I really started to appreciate. So all those, I won't ditto you and just repeat what you said. All of what you said is, you know, exactly the same for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So rewarding.
Yeah.
Seeing someone improve, especially when, you know what I mean, you put that time in, and they reciprocated, put that time in, the energy, and then they saw results. It's amazing. Yeah. I think as well that for me, coaching teaches me so much.
True.
So I'm going to try to explain this in the best way possible. So for people who have coached, I mean, maybe you understand, maybe you don't. For people who haven't, and this could be in any facet, it doesn't have to be in sport, like we said before. The way that you look at things when you know how to do something, or you know how someone taught it to you, obviously you're looking at it through a different lens when you're trying to show someone how to do it, right? And when you're trying to kind of break it down or figure out the most efficient way. So I think you learn stuff about yourself or about, you know, the whole thing that you're teaching when you're trying to teach it to someone, and you don't realize that until you're doing it. So, I mean, I think I found that again and again is stuff that was just about basketball per se, but then about maybe it involves mental toughness or this or preparation or all the stuff we talk about. I mean, I found myself getting real old head real quick with some of these kids, but and I don't even know where it came from. Not that I didn't eat, sleep, breathe that, but I know what is the formula. I mean, I think since we were blessed by having, you know, I mean, have been given the right information, we know what the right way to do it is. Yeah. So even though I might not be a walking, breathing example, it doesn't mean you have to be, but you have to be able to tell them, you know, I mean, if they're saying, no, this and that, this doesn't really make a big difference, I don't know why I spend all this time on that, and it's like, no, like if you want to be not the best necessarily, but if you want to get from point B to point C, you have to do X, Y, and Z. You have to do all of these things, and it's very interesting to see how, especially youth, are receptive to that, and I mean, hitting the mark, right? Yeah. You might not be hitting the mark on a certain way that you're presenting it, but you know what I mean? You try the next way and you're like, okay, this is it. Now I know that this is the way. Yeah. And I think that goes into how you start like molding your coaching style, right? Yeah,
and I feel like kids like learn differently or like respond differently, as we said, but like also like you know how, so like for example, like one kid you might be able to be like, you might be able to just say it and they're able to like do it. Another kid's like you got to show it, and so it's like visual, like they need like a visual. Some people just need like you to say it and then they're doing it. Some people need to like, I've learned that it's like actually like you're like with the kid hands on, where it's like, okay, like So for example, it's like, I don't know, like put your foot like out a little bit, but like they don't get that even if they see it. So it's like you might even have to like, boom, like I'm moving the guy's foot. Like,
Yeah, like no,
you know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah,
that
literally.
situation where it's like if we're both comfortable and that's fine, then we're doing that. And it's like that's how they learn. So it's like being able to like tell, especially when the group gets larger. So like for me, like I haven't like really done any coaching as in like head coach for like a team. Like I haven't done any like team coaching yet, but like I've done all the camps, clinics, 1-on-1, 2-on-2 train, like all that sort of training, like personal training or group training per se. And like whenever the group gets larger, obviously you can't spend a lot of time like individually with that. Like
yeah, you lose a little bit of touch.
You lose a little bit of like, yeah, just because you gotta pay attention to everyone. Like everyone's there to learn, so it's like, but then still, by saying that, it's like you still gotta pay attention to the kids and still gotta correct them when they're wrong, and that might be like, okay, let me stop the practice. I've seen this from like 3 or 4 different like athletes, so it's like, okay, boom, like most people are doing this, blah blah blah.
Right.
Let's try to
and
fix
then
this.
you have to also like decide whether that's worth it to stop.
Exactly.
You know what I mean, it's like, okay, enough people.
Yeah.
You mean, or if it's just one of them,
then you can
them aside.
yeah, you can pull them aside. That's totally fine. And it's like what I found too. It's like this is a big point. Is like if you're like coaching a session, like even if it's a team, I found that like as a coach, if I'm trying to like if I'm going up to you and like pulling your aside, or like I'm making like adjustments, that means that like I care about you. You know what I mean? Like I've had a coach say that before, where it's like if I'm coaching you, that's a good thing. If I'm not coaching you, then you should be worried. You know what I mean? Like
right. Well, I think you have it confused. When you're a youth, you're like, okay,
exactly.
if the coach keeps talking to me or keeps
then he doesn't like me.
No, or it's also because it's like, okay, I'm not good.
Exactly.
I shouldn't be here.
But that's
it's all negative,
opposite.
Right? It's all negative.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's completely opposite. Like now that seeing it from like a coach perspective is like, okay, if I'm trying to coach this kid, one is like I think like it's like he like whoever it is like is worth it. Where like they're working hard, like they want to get better. So like I want to make them better, right? Because then you have kids that like come in and they don't want to like either don't want to be there, or like maybe like forced to be there, like different situations, like, and then you could tell, and it's like not that I don't want to coach them, but like they're not receptive. So it's like, why would I not want to make this kid like improve when he's like willing and like he wants to he has that like learning like growth mindset and everything.
Ego.
So it's like that's
aside,
exactly. Yeah. That's a big thing. Like if coaches are like on you and coaching you and constantly like trying to make you better, is because they care a lot. And if they're not talking to you, that's when you should be like, uh-oh, like we got a problem. Like I gotta improve. I gotta figure it out, because like this guy's not even talking to me. You know what I mean? Like it's completely opposite when you're young and it's hard to understand. But trust me, like being the player and then being a coach and like seeing like looking back and like seeing how like different coaches like approach different things, it's like pretty common with like all the coaches, the same thing. It's like if he's coaching you, he wants to see you improve and he cares about you, and like I don't know, like it's like really 100%. Weird to think about now, but
yeah, I mean it's funny too, because so like I said before, you always you start learning from yourself. When you start coaching, you start learning things about yourself. I would do some of this stuff subconsciously. Like I'm not necessarily going into a gym and saying, oh, you know what I mean, the kid that shows that he's the most receptive. No. Obviously that's a given, but shows that he's the most receptive, or keeps doing the wrong thing, but this or that. No, it's just kind of like, I don't want to pick on this guy, but that's how they feel.
Yes.
But I just naturally, it's just immediately say his name's Michael. You know what I mean? It's just constant. It's just Michael this, Michael that, and they might hate it. You know what I mean? I hope they learn to love it.
Yeah.
And obviously it helps when you can find that one kid that you can kind of pick on in that way.
And he knows.
But they're cool with it.
Exactly.
And they're receptive to it. Exactly. And it's kind of like, it's a positive interaction.
Yes.
And it's not like the sooner you can get to that, where they're receptive of it, is that's the goal. Because then the group learns better as well, right?
Exactly. Because then it's like you're holding them accountable, and like usually what I find, it's like in the best scenarios is like it's usually like the most skilled or the most talented at that moment. Like if you can pick them aside, usually they have a good mindset where it's like if you can go up to them and be like, okay, like I'm going to be on you because you're the best one here. Like, you're the most talented. But because of that, you just got to work harder. You know what I mean? Because if he's bringing that level down and, like, he's not playing to his potential or, like, her potential or whatever, like, then everyone else is going to follow. You know what I mean? Like, it's a natural thing, especially, like, when you're young, where it's, like, you just match the level of everyone around you in your environment and everything like that. So it's, like, if you can pick, and it's not, like, singling people out, but it's, like, you try to, like, hold accountable because then it's good for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, and there's ways to, like, because you could tell it's like if you start singling a kid out and like they don't like it, you could tell right away. You know what I mean? So that's when you're like, okay, let me not do that. You know what I mean? Like we're not gonna go this route, like whatever it is. But at the same time, it's like sometimes singling someone out, not necessarily singling someone out in a bad manner, but in a positive way, then that's a good way to approach it too. You know, like it's it's that balance of like finding
100%.
It's personalities too. Like young like kids and athletes have like different personalities, and some kids can take that constructive like criticism, and some kids can't, and that's fine. Like for example, like when I was younger, like I was really bad at like when like a coach would tell me what to do, like I was really like hot headed, like you know what I mean, like stuff like that. Whereas like now it's like I'm cool with it. So like I understand that like when you're young, sometimes it's just that fire of like win at all costs. Like this is like sports, like this is all I do. Like I love, you know what I mean? Like I'm always trying to win. But then like when you grow older, you start maturing a little bit, and you're like, okay, like now, you know, like kids can change too. So it's like as long as you keep them encouraged and like confident and like keep playing that sport, you know, like I feel like they can go like a far distance, you know. Like it's I don't know.
I agree.
It's interesting.
So obviously that's that's the impact that the best player, you know what I mean, in a group can have on the rest of the group. So what kind of impact do you think we as coaches have on players, like overall? Like how important do you think that is? Because I don't think people think about that enough, and they think, you know what I mean, it's more on yourself and whatever, but that's not the way I feel.
For sure. No, we touched on it a bit where it's like coaches can make or break, like in the beginning where you're just like, okay, like coaches can make or break someone's like career. And I think it's similar to this. Like I genuinely think like if one bad coach can like end your whole like sports career. Like all you need is one. It's not just like it could be a combination too, but like one really bad experience can just shape like a kid's life. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a crazy thing to say, but I've seen it firsthand. Like I've seen like kids either quit or drop out of the sport or change sports, right? Or whatever it is, just because of the coach, where it's like, I couldn't do it. It's like, okay, I've had this bad experience, say whatever it is, like it happened, like things happen, I get it, but it's like bad experience. Well, and it's hard being a coach too, because you're managing, let's just say a basketball team, you're managing 12 athletes, right? Regardless of age, gender, anything, you're managing 12 different athletes with different personalities that have different reasons to be there. Some people, especially youth, like, because we're talking more like when you're younger, it's like some kids are there just to have fun. Some kids are there to play the next level. So it's like, how do you balance that out? So like as a coach, it is hard,
Right.
but like
The intensity,
you have to
the
understand
seriousness that you
exactly,
approach it with,
and that's why like before, like I feel like especially in a team aspect where it's like, okay, like even in an individual aspect, like individual training and stuff like that, I found where it's like you got to figure out what like the kids' goals are. You know what I mean? Like it's like, because then I can approach it in a different like facet and a different mentality where it's like, okay, like for example, we have kid number 1 that is playing a sport for fun in high school. Let's say he's like grade 9, like he's playing a sport for fun. As of right now, he doesn't want to play competitively after. He wants to go through school sports and then just like pursue a different thing after. Like he just wants to have fun, whatever, go through his 4 years in high school and just play. Like he just wants to be with his friends, blah, blah, like participate in games, be competitive, but nothing like too serious, no post-secondary. And then you have kid number 2 where it's like, okay, grade 9 already, this kid's like very talented, like he wants to pursue professional, like he has professional aspirations, like
you can see it.
you can see it. He wants it. He's told you. He's in the gym. Blah blah.
Asking questions.
I'm gonna approach that differently, right? So like for kid number 1, it's like, okay, like maybe it's like you don't have to like be in the gym every day. Like I don't want to like see you. Well, like I would love to see you in the gym every day, but then it's like I know he's just doing this for fun. So maybe I'll go a little bit lighter on him because it's like he doesn't. Not that he doesn't want to get better, but like in that sport, in that situation, he doesn't want to go play professional. He doesn't want to like get to that next level, which is totally fine.
Expectation.
That's fine.
Yeah,
That's totally fine. But like as long as we're clear about that before, then that's cool. But then kid number 2, it's like, okay, I can go like hard on him. And then what happens is, okay, mid-season, if he's like, say like you're going hard, whatever, you're going hard on him, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, oh, like you're going too hard on me on like blah, blah. But then you go, okay, so like what are your goals? Right. And then you could just backtrack and it's way easier. Right. But if you don't know the kid's goals and you just go blindly and you just go, it's like, okay.
You assume that everyone wants this type of coaching.
Exactly. You assume that everyone wants to go play.
You have to know your personnel. You have to really know your personnel.
And that's a huge thing because you have to approach that differently. And like, same thing goes for like one-on-one training and stuff like that. Like, especially one-on-one training where it's like, I found that's like, okay, like first off, what do you want to work on, right? It's like, what do you want to get better at? Most kids are going to be looking at you and be like, I have no idea. You know, like I've had a 99% of the time where it's like, it's like, what do you want to work on? Like, what do you want to get better at? Kid has no idea. If totally fine. Like, fair enough. I can probably figure it out after one session, but it's like, okay, let's narrow down.
Yeah, well, part of the homework now for that kid is, okay, go and figure out what you want to get
exactly.
better at.
Yeah, fully.
It's you know what I mean? We can help with that. A coach can help with that. But you also, as a player, that's your responsibility is to, you know what I mean? You have to slowly build
for sure
your personality as a player, your character.
And as much as like a coach can like impact you, a lot of it comes from yourself too, where it's like, for example, like one-on-one training, great. But if we're doing like 1 session or 2 sessions a week, how much better are you truly getting? You're getting better in those 2 sessions, but what are you doing the other 5 days? You know what I'm saying? So that's when it's like on you.
Yeah, it doesn't just stop. Exactly. But we're talking about also different types of players here. If they want to get better, if they don't, we're assuming that we're talking about players that want to get better.
Yeah.
So I just said player personality. You know what I mean? That's a big thing. We talked about confidence in the last one. You know what I mean? Have your persona, bring it on the court. So I mean, I know I definitely. I mean, it took a little bit. I haven't coached for that long, but I think pretty quickly I figured out what my coaching personality was. Yeah. And that makes it sound like it's an act. It's not, but you know what I mean? You do have to have you have to have your persona. Yeah. And whether you decide that's like strict and stern or it's super fun and approachable guy, you know what I mean? Yeah. Nothing, you know what I mean? Nothing is serious. I think that's, you know what I mean? That's up to you. But I figured that out pretty quick. Like what was your experience or what has been your experience and you're still starting to build that coaching personality. Like what plays into that?
I think the main thing, at least what I've found and like what I think for coaches in general, and like obviously we're super young. Like we have, in the coaching business, we have like no experience. So like obviously we're talking about like our experience and like, we're not saying this is the right way, but this is what like I found where it's like, okay, like
I don't think any NBA coaches are watching.
No, exactly. Like college coaches, it's like we have no experience, but like it's fun to talk about, and like I feel like the main thing for me is you gotta gain the respect of your players. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a team aspect, but even again, I'll bring it back like, because I go from like team to one-on-one. That's like the 2 extremes where it's like you're coaching a group and then you're coaching one person. But like for both, is you gotta gain respect of like whoever you're coaching. Because if you don't have that, then that's when all hell breaks loose. Where it's like, kids are going to start doing their own thing. People are going to like go shooting the side while you're talking. So like from day one, you got to gain their respect. And you got to like make them understand like why we're doing this, why we're here. And there could be different goals within that. Where it's like, okay, we're here in this session and we're here to get better. Like this is like, for example, like I'll give an example of like an elite session, right? An elite session for me is like, it's like that's the hardest it can go, where it's like we're pushing the limit, we're pushing, and kids that are there, I hope, are all there to like either try to play post-secondary or like they're going like it's like difficult advanced skills.
Best they can be, yeah.
And then there's other sessions which is totally fine too, which is just like learning fundamentals and like And that's more like a mellow version of it, where it's like, I'm not yelling at these kids, whatever. We're really breaking it down, and we're going slowly with no rush, with no like, the expectation is to get like 1% better. You know what I mean? Like, it's always just like every day is just trying to improve a little bit. So like in that session, you might approach it differently, So I think the main thing is like gaining the respect of like all the players. And then another thing as a coach too, like especially for team, is like having good relationships in general, like with your players, and then like a lot of different things play in, like parents play in, like kids' parents play in, because they're going to be the ones you're communicating with, emailing, whatever, calling, texting, whatever.
The parents,
method.
That's a whole nother sector.
For sure. And like, and yeah, we'll touch on it on another podcast. I think I already wrote that down because that's something I want to talk about. But like, you have to deal with like different circumstances, different situations. So if you're coaching a team, then 100% you're dealing with parents. You're dealing with parent, guardian, grandparents, whoever it is. Like, you're dealing with someone that's like related to that kid, right? So you got to be able to like first also gain their respect in a way, right? Like you're trying to be approachable. You're trying to be respectful. You're trying to, as best as possible, you're trying to make that kid's experience the best it can possibly be, and that's all the parents want. Like, they just want the kids to have fun and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It is, like, I get it. Everyone wants to play. It's like everyone wants to be there, and they just want to have fun. Like, if the kid comes back and they're like, "Oh, I loved it," parents will love it. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's that area where it's like, okay, like, you got to gain the respect. You got to be respectful to everyone. You got to like treat everyone the same. Like, it's just little like common courtesies like that are going to take you like a long way. I feel like
you're there to help get that player. You know what I mean? I try to help that player get to wherever he wants to be, whatever his goals are.
Yeah.
But you always have to make sure you're having fun. I think if you take the fun out of it, and then obviously the fun is different for different people. If it's a very competitive player, then they're, you know what I mean? We're having fun in competition. If we look like we're pissed off on the court, and you know what I mean, some person might be, "Oh my God, they look mad." You know what I mean? They look like they hate this. It's like, no, I love this actually. But we, you know what I mean? This coach knows that. Obviously, when you get to a certain level, that's the always. You know what I mean? Intensity level is high, but it's always about having fun. It's always about making the most out of the time. I think efficiency in coaching, time efficiency is key. Yeah. You could waste a lot of time in a lot of types of training, but when you get in the gym, obviously, you know what I mean, I think you should have a plan. You should be getting into it immediately, and then you should also be attacking mistakes when you see them, just because. And I think that's another big one for me. I don't know about for you, but like examples that are in front of your eyes and kind of using those in your coaching immediately, that's big for me, because I've had lots of moments where, so say in game, I've coached some teams, obviously. In game, whatever's going down, you see it, you see all these things you don't like, whatever, you're like, God. But it's hard to tackle that right in that moment, because it's too much, right? And you could pick at it in the halftime or in a timeout or whatever, but it's, especially with the youth, it's really hard to get through a message. So you kind of sideline it, but I always try and pick out those moments in the next session we have, because it's just like, you know what I mean? It's the classic about any human, right? It's hard to remember when you're making a mistake, or when and this isn't that big, you're making a mistake, but you know what I mean? You're not doing it the way that you want to do it. Yeah. And these kids forget, right? You forget. So you say, no, you just did this. Yeah. I saw you did this. I know you're saying that, because, right, you have those negligent players that are like, no, I do it. What do you mean, coach? Whatever. And you're like, I saw you do this this way. Yeah. It just happened, right? Reference the teammate. Yeah. You know what I mean? Now he's busting his ass too. He's like, man, I saw you. You can't go left. You're doing this when you say you're doing this, right? Yeah. And it's just it's a live example for them. Yeah. So I think, what are your thoughts on situational coaching?
Yeah, I think in like practice, like that's a huge thing where like, how do I word this? Like in a way, like you can't let. So like you have your style. So like let's just say you don't like a certain thing. Like I've had moments where like I'm coaching and I don't like what I see, but I don't say anything. I think that's even worse. So it's like, for example, if we're gonna do this, say that I don't like something, you got to tackle things like right away, because what happens is like, okay, say Jimmy is like, he did something, I don't know, like you said, dribble right to left and he started left to right, even though it's a small thing, you're doing right to left for a reason. Let's just say it's a situation. You're doing right to left for a reason. If you don't say anything of the kid going left to right, the kid right behind him in line might do the same thing left to right because he's seeing that and you didn't say anything. But if in a situation you're like, boom, like right away you're like, yo, Jimmy, just go right to left, like we're doing this because of this.
And you might have to stop the whole thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
And fix it.
And then it just builds into like all about doing it the right way, where it's like you're not just going like, Jimmy, like you suck, like you have to do it this way, like why are you doing this? Like you're terrible, blah, blah, blah. Like look at him, he's way better. It's like, okay. It's like, Jimmy, like go right to left, like we're doing this because we're trying to work on our right to left cross, blah, blah, blah. We're doing this in a game. And then just like explaining it in a way where like the kid's going to be like, oh, okay, like whatever, accepting it and just like respectfully, you know what I mean? Like, because then like, because if you just go and attack him, he's knowing myself too. Like if I was a kid and I was playing and then a coach said to me, you know, it's like when like your mom is like telling you what to do and you don't want to do it anymore. It's one of those, you know what I mean? Like people are just naturally built that way. I feel like it's a human being. You're just like, you don't want to be told what to do, you know, because people are different. So
like
then
I want to go left, right.
Exactly. Like, let me do my thing. But if you do it in a way where it's like you explain why, that's what I always
no,
try
we're
to do
doing
now.
it here because of this.
Yeah.
And we're going to go left right after.
Exactly.
But right now we're going right left.
And that's the biggest thing where it's like, especially in basketball, there's small details where it's like, right now we're doing this. What you're doing is wrong, but it's not what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. That's what I say usually. So it's like you go finish. It's like, that's not how we're finishing now, but I love the finish. Like the amount of times I say that is like, because it's true. Like I'm not just saying that just to say that. It's like,
that's a great finish,
but that's not what we're working on right now. We'll get to that. You're ahead of me or something like that.
Unless they're just doing the open finger roll right at the rim. Yeah. We don't like that ever.
But there's cues.
In any situation. We don't. That's a big no-no. I don't know how many times I said that. You can't finger roll right at the rim, especially if you're under 6 foot.
But there's cues, right?
You're gonna get swatted
for sure. And there's cues where it's like, I love this, but boom, you know, or I love this. And there's like different words that you can use that are way more constructive than others. So like, you know what I mean? Like it's less excuse words where it's like, oh, like, but, like stuff like that. But it's more like, oh, like I'm doing this and this, or like I'm doing this because of this. Like it's always like explaining the why and like making sure the kid understands why he's doing it and just being kind of approachable and like making them like trying to learn as much as possible.
And we're just trying to learn.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
We're
as
learning
a coach,
with it.
That's what I like I said, I feel like I learn just as much as I teach. While I'm teaching, I'm learning stuff about myself. I'm learning stuff about the game. I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm kind of, I might be teaching a drill that I already knew how to do, or a concept that I already, or that I thought I already knew. And I'm like, wow, now I'm looking at it from this view. I'm like, man, I understand it even more. I think
for sure.
I was going to say for myself, then when I go and play, I'm like, wow, like this makes way more sense.
Provides a different view, yeah.
It gives you a whole different perspective. Now, because I think that's the biggest thing that people don't think about from player to coach, right, is, you know what I mean? You're in the box, literally. You're in this rectangle.
Yeah.
You take yourself out. Now you're looking outside in. And I think when you're still a player and you've never been in the coaching lens, you know what I mean? You can't do that because you're out of the game. You're like, okay, I'm not in the game. I don't care about the game, right?
For sure.
If I'm not playing, I don't care about it. But when you're a coach, it's like,
you have to be
any game I watch now, I'm like, man, why didn't he do this? Why is this guy here? Like,
for sure.
Why hasn't he rotated enough? He could have backdoor 3 plays ago. You know what I mean? Everything bugs you.
And you see it. I know.
Everything bugs you.
And you see a lot more, and you see different things. You know, like it just opens up your view to a lot. Like I find a lot of like it relates to like when like I've seen like people become refs. And they're the same thing, because like I used to be really bad where it's like, yo, you're yelling at the refs, blah, blah, and then you become a ref, you're like, damn, like this sucks, like this is like
reffing is tough.
You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with coaching, where it's like, okay, now it provides you a different lens of like different view on what is going on, because you can see everything, right? When you're playing, you don't see everything as much as you like. I try to think that like I see everything on the court, but like you don't. Like it's your view is just in.
There's a lot going on.
Exactly, where the view from the coach is outside in. They can see everything. They can see more. Also, they're more clear. They're not in competition. They're not. The adrenaline's on there.
Right.
Adrenaline might be there as a coach too, because I want to win, but like it's not the same.
But you need to. You kind of, as a coach, you need to be in the game vicariously through the players. And sometimes that's not all of them, because that's just not how it works. And I think that's why usually you have your guy, and it might not be the best player, or it might not. It's going to be the most receptive guy, that's for sure. But you know what I mean? Someone that, like, if what you're saying is not getting through onto the court, you're going personally to this guy and you're saying, listen, like, you need to kind of push this agenda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This guy's hot and he's not getting the ball enough. We need to get him the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We need more energy.
For sure.
You know what I mean? You're my soldier on the court.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we've all seen that before.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I think those good points.
I think there's a lot we could dive into about coaching.
For sure.
I think that's a good first little segment.
Love it. We touched on good points.
We touched on some good points.
I love talking about coaching, especially now that I'm doing more of it. It's just a fun topic.
Coaching is fun. I always want to learn more.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll get a coach on here at some point. That would be really dope.
Yep.
And we could learn more from this guy, whoever this is.
If you know a coach,
he'll be sitting right here.
If you know a coach anywhere in your city, wherever that wants to hop on, or you think is going to be great for the podcast, just let us know. Throw it down in the comments.
Throw down what you think. Throw down what you think. What's the best drills? If Didi was lacking on the drills, if I was lacking on the coaches.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let us know.
All right.
Episode 3 is coming soon. That was sick. Shout out Mafia Academy too.
Joga Talks. We out.